I was thinking of one, just a fire that stood out, and I think for me, that was the Wallow Fire of 2011, which was, I believe, Arizona's largest fire, and I think that was over 500,000 acres, so fairly large, complex, kind of got to see a lot. And that was a back-to-back 14-day assignment with an R&R in place in Flagstaff. We got to see a lot. There was about, almost 2 weeks of burning, doing burnouts and holding, and the fire activity was pretty intense. The second 2 weeks was completely different location on the fire, and was pretty much, instead of high elevation and ponderosa pine, it was all desert in extremely hot conditions, as far as temperature goes, and humidity being very low. Usually, 6 to 7 quarts of water will supply you throughout the day, but I think we were drinking 12 or 13 quarts, and having to make sure that we had those QBs available and water available. We were spiked out for, I believe, 4 nights on that second tour, and 2 nights out of the 4, people were getting stung by scorpions, and one guy, I believe, got stung on the neck. And just kind of, it's rough. You're not sleeping too well anyways, and then you have to worry about these scorpions coming in your sleeping bag at night, so that was kind of a tough one. But that was the fire that kind of stood out for me, because it was still earlier in my career, and we got to see a lot, and it was definitely intense to do those back-to-back 14s and being in place, and that's kind of what you're going to see being on a hotshot crew. So in the first 2 weeks, it was around, I believe, 6,000 to 8,000 feet. And, in Arizona, you're going to be seeing a lot more, timber and mostly ponderosa pine. And there was a lot of fire activity. There was a lot of fallout that was coming down in multiple spot fires when we were holding. Obviously, our burnout operations were happening in the evening, but it was some, a lot of fire whirls, a lot of tall flames, and like I said, several spot fires behind us that we had to deal with. But it seemed like at that point in time, things were still under control, but it definitely kind of, brought the energy up a little bit. So.